Projekt Guru.
Всем привет! С вами Zak Novak на радиостанции Novorossia Rocks. Welcome to Novorossia Rocks radio station. This is Zak Novak, your American, in downtown Donetsk. The program is called Projekt Guru, and Guru is in the house as always. Andre, my engineer, as well. Let's get right to it. Turkish writer who caught Nazi Erdogan lying is now dead. Turkish writer Ergun Poryaz, who had earlier said that Turkish President Recep Erdogan has no actual higher education, and as president he received this education illegally, is found dead. Poryaz organized an investigation that proved that Erdogan's diploma is a fake and he did not study at the university. Poryaz published the original version of Erdogan's diploma, which he allegedly wrote while studying at Marmara University. It turned out that the diploma is dated when the University of Marmara was not existent. It should be noted that the 4-year college education is mandatory for the election of the president of Turkey. Turkish party Salvation of the People, on the basis of the investigation led by Poryaz, appealed to the court, stating that Erdogan presented a fake diploma to participate in the elections. Poryaz soon began to face various difficulties in Turkey. Now he was found dead. More from Turkey, madness in Turkey, even a tweet against Nazi Erdogan, you are doomed. A Dutch-Turkish journalist has been detained in Turkey after posting tweets critical of Turkish President Erdogan, her newspaper said. Obru Umar wrote a column for the Dutch Metro newspaper criticizing Erdogan's clampdown on dissent. Since 2014, prosecutors have launched cases against more than 1,800 journalists for insulting Erdogan. Last week, Germany allowed the prosecution of a prominent TV satirist for insulting Erdogan to proceed. Jan Boherman had read a crude poem on TV aimed at testing German law. Germany and the Netherlands have old les majestes laws against insulting the head of a friendly state. Both governments have said they will change their laws so that the les majestes is no longer an offense. Ms. Umar was in Turkey on holiday when she was arrested. On Saturday night, she tweeted in Dutch that the police were at her door. She was taken to a nearby resort in Kuşadası for questioning and was later released but not allowed to leave Turkey. Last week, the Turkish consulate in Rotterdam had urged Turks in the Netherlands to report insults to Turkey or its president. The consulate later withdrew its call after it was criticized by Dutch MPs and Prime Minister Mark Rutte. Mr. Rutte said in Dutch he had been in contact with Ms. Umar since her arrest. Ms. Umar was detained as German Chancellor Angela Merkel and EU delegation were in Turkey for talks about the implementation of an agreement on migration. Fighting rages across Syria, ceasefire in shambles, many killed. With the Syrian ceasefire looking ever more in doubt, fighting picked up over the weekend, the government and rebel forces clashing in Aleppo, and Syrian military forces launching strikes against the rebel stronghold of Douma in metro Damascus. At least 13 were killed in the Douma strikes, with the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights saying they believe the toll will rise. 26 others were killed in fighting around Aleppo, which saw rebels shelling a government-held district in the city and Syrian forces attacking some nearby areas. Early reports suggested that the overwhelming majority of the slain were civilians. In both cases, the targeted areas are dominated by factions that are party to the peace talks. There have been some smaller clashes surrounding the ceasefire, which has been in place since February, but by and large, allegations of violations have centered on fights with factions like Al-Qaeda, who are not a party to the truce. The weekend fighting suggests that the truce may be evaporating. Guru, early results from Serbia, and it looks like it's Vučić to be victorious. Vučić claims victory in Serbia. Serbia's pro-EU Prime Minister Aleksandar Vučić has claimed victory in general elections after pollsters' projections showed his progressive party won 50% of the votes. He said Serbs again gave us the honor to lead the government. Mr. Vučić called a poll early seeking a mandate to continue with reforms required to join the EU. The Socialists are in second place with about 13%, while the ultra-nationalist Radical Party, which seeks closer ties with Russia, is third, 7%. Radical Party leader Vojislav Šešelj, who, by the way, is my hero and a good friend of mine back in 93-95 in Sarajevo when he visited us, could return to parliament after his recent acquittal of crimes against humanity at the UN War Crimes Tribunal in The Hague. The Radical Party opposes EU membership. Azerbaijani fascist forces violate ceasefire more than 120 times last night, according to Armenia's defense ministry. Azerbaijani forces violated the ceasefire on the contact line in Nagorno-Karabakh more than 120 times overnight. The ministry says that the Azerbaijani forces opened fire on the contact line from small arms of various calibers, 60 and 82 mortars, mounted grenade launchers and anti-aircraft mounts, and also used a drone in the northeastern direction. The statement also runs that the Azerbaijani shelled the northeastern part of Armenia's state border 38 times from small arms and a handheld grenade launcher. Azerbaijani Defense Ministry said Armenian forces violated the ceasefire on the front line 130 times, also using 82s and 120s and howitzers, while Azerbaijani forces retaliated with 131 fire strikes on the Armenian positions. The situation along the contact line of conflicting sides of Nagorno-Karabakh, a disputed territory between Armenia and Azerbaijan, deteriorated dramatically overnight, April 2nd, when fierce clashes began. The parties to the conflict accused each other of violating the truce. At a meeting of chiefs of general staff, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Moscow, an agreement was reached on a ceasefire from noon local time on April 5th. Since then, the sides have reported ceasefire violations along the contact line. Russia praises new BBC documentary on Boeing crash in Donbass. A senior Russian lawmaker considers a new BBC documentary on the crash of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 in eastern Ukraine, Donbass region, July 2014, capable of helping to shed light on the tragedy. There will be a BBC film that can bring closer the truth on the downed Boeing. The false masks start coming off, Alexei Pushkov, who chairs the Lower House Foreign Affairs Committee, wrote in his Twitter microblog. The documentary Conspiracy Files, Who Shot Down MH17, will be broadcast on BBC Two on May 3rd at 9 p.m. local time. That's 11 p.m. Moscow time. New evidence in the film suggests that the plane may have been downed by a Ukrainian fighter jet rather than ground-to-air missile. A Malaysia Airline Boeing 777 passenger airline flight MH17 from Dutch city Amsterdam to Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur crashed in the Donetsk region in eastern Ukraine, Donbass, July 17, 2014, killing all 298 people on board. Most passengers, 193 people, were Dutch nationals. Let me bring in my lovely co-host Nataliya. News from Novorossia and around the world.
Military situation of Novorossia. 2 houses burned in the village Zaitsevo as a result of shelling by Kiev nationalistic fighters. 2 populated houses burned as a sequence of shelling by Ukrainian armed forces close to Gorlovka in Zaitsevo, the representative of local administration reported. It was added that there are no casualties. Shelling was very intensive. People were to be in basements. It was earlier reported that Kiev troops shelled severely Spartak last night. Populated villages of Donetsk subjected to shelling by Kiev punitive. Subdivisions of Ukrainian armed forces shelled village Spartak in the northern suburb of Donetsk last evening. It was reported by the DPR Defense Ministry. Kiev fighters started shelling of Spartak at 10 p.m. Representative of the Defense Ministry reported. In regard to the data of the resource, the hostility conducted shelling from the mine Butovskaya. Fighters used mortars of 82mm caliber and grenade launchers. The information on casualties and destroying is being checked now. Defense Ministry of the DPR reported that Ukrainian fighters shelled the DPR territory nearly 400 times by heavy armament. And about cultural life of the DPR, thousands of Donetsk dwellers gathered in the central park named after Sherbakov in the capital of the DPR yesterday. A shelter for homeless animals, PIF and animals in the city arranged the exhibition and concourses. Best masters of handmade represented their works at the fair trade. All the money would be spent to animals. People could take photos with dogs. They put questions about how to treat dogs. Students of canine enthusiastic clubs and graduates of the unique social projects Friend demonstrated their achievements in education of outbred dogs. One more significant event occurred in Donetsk on 23rd April. Gala Concert dedicated to the 125th anniversary since the day of birth of a great composer Sergei Prokofiev. It was held on 23rd April in the Donbass Opera with full house. All tickets sold out long before the date of the concert, and it is not occasional. World-known pianist Valentina Lisitsa performed in the capital of the Donetsk People's Republic. We point out that the pianist does not get fee for the concerts in hero towns as Debaltseve, Ilovaisk, Gorlovka and Donetsk. Her goal is to support people in this difficult time for them.
Albanian slime attacked 2 young girls in Kosovo. Provocations of Albanians who pass through our village have become a part of everyday life, but after the last attack on sisters Alexandra, 12 years old, and Angela, 14, Jovanovic, we further fear for our children. This is how residents of Vriochi, Serbian village near Gračanica, describe what they are experiencing for Serbian daily Večernje Novosti, upset about the incident that happened a few days ago when Albanian slime in a car intercepted 2 underage girls. Hitting one of them, residents of Vriochi say that they were not safe and that there is no one to protect them. Although my daughter still cannot recover from the incident, we did not report the case to the police because there is simply no point. They only listen and usually do nothing to find the perpetrators, said Daniela Jovanovic, mother of the girls who were attacked by the Albanians. Although she still does not know what were their ultimate intentions, only to intimidate, hurt, or kidnap them, Daniela says that although there were no major consequence, the incident has likely achieved the ultimate goal of the Albanians, and that is to intimidate. And that is the situation, people around the world. Listen up. Kosovo is Serbian, will always be Serbian, but what the Albanians are doing, terrorizing the people there, terrorizing the kids, the children there, and that's thanks to the Obama regime. Breaking a campaign promise, Obama declines massacre of Armenians as genocide. Guru, Andre, listen to this. President Obama declined on Friday to refer to the 1915 massacre of Armenians as genocide, breaking a campaign promise as his presidency nears its end. Mr. Obama, in a statement to mark Armenian Remembrance Day on April 24th, called the massacre the first mass atrocity of the 20th century and a tragedy that must not be repeated. Yet he stopped short of using the word genocide, a term he applied to the killings before he became president in 2009. I have consistently stated my own view of what occurred in 1915, and my view has not changed. Armenian American leaders have urged Mr. Obama each year to keep a pledge he made as a presidential candidate in 2008 when he said the United States government had a responsibility to recognize the attacks as genocide and vowed to do so if elected. Mr. Obama's failure to fulfill the pledge in his final annual statement on the massacre infuriated advocates and lawmakers who accused the president of outsourcing America's moral voice to Turkey, which staunchly opposes the genocide label. It's a Turkish government veto over U.S. policy on the Armenian genocide. Aram Hamparian, the head of the Armenian National Committee of America, said in an interview, referring to President Erdogan of Turkey. Mr. Hamparian said it's likely Erdogan imposing a gag rule very publicly and an American president enforcing that gag rule. Historians estimate that as many as 1.5 million Armenians were killed by the Ottoman Turks in an episode widely viewed by scholars as genocide. Turkey, United States partner and NATO ally, denies that the killings constituted genocide and says the death toll has been inflated. Hey everyone, that ends our program. As I stress always, please stay on alert, be safe out there, and see you all on Wednesday. Bye-bye, folks.